Hi everybody, thank you for tuning in. This video is kind of a spitballing some theology. Something I discovered reading the Gospel of Bartholomew. But really, if you're into searching for truth and searching the extra biblical text, I know there are people who listen who do this stuff. You'll probably be really interested in this. Others, maybe not so much, but, for those who have ears to hear, please let them hear. So I was reading the Gospel of Bartholomew. Now, I don't believe the Gospel of Bartholomew is inspired. It was clearly written. It has echoes of the Gospel of Nicodemus. And just because a text is not necessarily inspired, it doesn't mean we throw it away. There are a lot of things we can learn from these texts because the people who wrote them, we have the tendency to think the more further in time we go in our modern day, we were smarter than all those people who wrote those texts back there. And nothing could be farthest from the truth. We are in the last days. We are what could be considered the final generation. According to the statue of Daniel, we are the ones who are the most deceived. We are the ones who are the furthest away from the truth. I mean, we live in a society where just saying God exists is offensive. So, back in 300 AD, or around the time of Christ, the ways of Yah, biblical principles, what we would call biblical principles, were common. Common knowledge, generally speaking. So, with that being said, in the Gospel of Bartholomew, there's a lot of wisdom that can be gleaned from this stuff. Excuse me. Now, there's one particular thing I just want to highlight. I'll try to get to my point in chapter 1. But right off the bat, most people, when reading this, is going to be like, this is heresy. This is just apocryphal fables. I'm throwing this away. I don't want to hear this. But wait. Hold on. So in the Gospel of Bartholomew, chapter 1, verse 6, here we go. Now, this is talking about Jesus' descent into hell, okay? After Jesus was crucified, he descended into hell and freed the captives of Adam. This is a biblical principle. This is in our Bibles, okay? This is not some, this is biblical theology, okay? He freed, in between this, before he rose again during those 3 days, he descended into hell and freed the captives of Adam. Okay, theologically makes sense. This we can find in our Bibles. So the Gospel of Bartholomew gets into this, just like the Gospel of Nicodemus does. Now, there's one peculiar verse here, and Bartholomew said, "Lord, when you went to hang upon the cross, I followed you from afar off, and saw you hanging upon the cross, and the angels coming down from heaven and worshiping you. And when there came darkness, I beheld, and I saw you, and you vanished away from the cross. And I heard only a voice in the parts under the earth, and great wailing and gnashing of teeth of a sudden. Tell me, Lord, where did you go from the cross?" So, in this text, Bartholomew is telling Jesus, I was watching from afar off you getting crucified. That is biblical. A lot of them were watching from afar off. But he said, when the darkness came, when Jesus was being crucified, there was a solar eclipse. I know there are people listening who don't believe that, but I believe that there was a solar eclipse for 3 hours. That 3 hours is the cycle that a solar eclipse happens. But there was darkness for those, quote unquote darkness. There was a solar eclipse when Jesus was being crucified. So what this text is saying is Bartholomew said, while that was happening, Jesus disappeared off the cross. All right, that sounds absolutely crazy. It just sounds like, all right, I'm not listening to this. This is some harebrained theory. This is not biblical. I don't want to hear this. But wait. Hold on a minute. There's something to this. Because when I first read this, I thought the same thing. I'm like, I don't buy it. But then it made me think. Now, Guys, it's really important when we understand biblical theology, like when we understand, like the end times and the prophetic revelations we have in these end times, we can decipher very easily if something is false or not, right? So everything Jesus did on the cross 2,000 years ago is going to be a foreshadow of something else, right? Ecclesiastes 1:9 and 3:15. Thumbnail rules in understanding our Bibles. Nothing new under the sun. What was, is, and will be. Okay, everything is a type and a shadow of something greater. So, for example, when we know what happened on Jesus on the cross is going to be a type and a shadow of the death of the Messiah in the last days. So, for example, when Jesus said, my God, why have you forsaken me?" That's a shadow of what's called in the Bible as the midnight cry. Okay? Do you guys understand? So in this text, it claims during this darkness, and there is prophesied darkness to come in the last days, the day of the Lord is the day of darkness. We all know the scriptures. Excuse me, I'm sorry. This is just how it is for me. We all know the scriptures that darkness will come in the last days on the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord is going to be the death of the Messiah, from what we understand. It's mystery because it hasn't come to pass yet. So, the point I'm trying to get to here is in the Odes of Solomon, Ode 5. Now, the Odes of Solomon is the inspired word of God. And this is a text that everybody should be in all the time, because the revelations in the Odes of Solomon are astounding. But Odes of Solomon, Ode 5, seems to be a prophecy of the Messiah in the last days. And it's talking about, it seems to be talking about his death. And when he dies, darkness will fall, and God will recompense his enemies. So let's read Odes of Solomon, Ode 5. And after we read this, the idea of when Jesus was crucified 2,000 years ago, that he disappeared off the cross during the solar eclipse, it actually becomes feasible. Now, I'm not saying this is what happened, because we need another witness. We need a solid another witness, and I don't know of any. But this is something I just want to share, because this is really interesting. It's quite feasible. So let's check out Odes of Solomon, Ode 5. I give thanks to you, I will give thanks unto thee, O Lord, because I love thee. O Most High, thou wilt not forsake me, for you are my hope. Freely I have received thy grace, I shall live thereby. So already we're seeing shadows of what happens on Jesus on the cross. For you will not forsake me, right? Let's continue reading. My persecutors will come and not see me. A cloud of darkness shall fall on their eyes, and an air of thick gloom shall darken them. And they shall light no light, and they shall have no light to see, that they may not take hold upon me. Let their counsel become thick darkness, and what they have cunningly devised, let it return upon their own heads. For they have devised a counsel, and it did not succeed. They have prepared themselves for evil, and were found to be empty. For my hope is upon the Lord, and I will not fear. And because the Lord is my salvation, I will not fear. He is a garland on my, etc. You can read this on your screen. But the point is that we see this prophecy of thick darkness coming, and they're not seeing him. My persecutors shall come and not see me. A cloud of darkness shall fall on their eyes, and an air of thick gloom shall darken them, and they shall have no light to see, that they may not take hold upon me. So it's really amazing. It actually might be possible that Jesus disappeared off the cross 2,000 years ago. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying this is, a pretty good theological spitball. It's not even a spitball. It's a pretty good theory. Something to take seriously. Now, we know our Bibles from my understand, I understand our Bibles to be generally a cliff notes as to what really happened, and we search the extra biblical text to fill in those gaps. Even the book of John says all the things Jesus did cannot be written in all the books of the world. So, just because we don't see an account of just Jesus disappearing off the cross and maybe reappearing, biblically that does sound pretty silly. But considering this evidence, it's something we should take seriously if anyone is interested in searching for truth. I just wanted to point this out. I mean, we definitely need another hardcore witness, but it's really amazing. Really amazing. So, something that seems to be some kind of harebrained idea from some random sacred text actually holds a lot of water that we find in the Odes of Solomon. Really amazing. Really amazing. All right. I just wanted to share that. I hope people are able to follow me. Okay. Yah bless you. Thanks for tuning in.